Let's see. Oh, YouTube is not live yet. Let's do that. Whoops. No, not yet. It is live. Interesting. I guess it's just waiting to refresh. There we go. All right. So while we wait, how is everyone doing? I see there are 3 people watching 4 now on YouTube, and 2 on Twitch. Thanks for joining. I think we're loaded up. YouTube is slightly delayed, but we'll just keep rolling. Hope you're doing all right. Close this Discord window too, just to keep it clean. So this is MetaHuman Creator. I started making this human a tour just to test it out a little bit and figured that it would be a good idea to do that on stream instead, so I didn't go any further. We'll delete him or them and get started with another human. Now, because MetaHuman Creator, if you're familiar or even if you're unfamiliar, is a browser-based application that will allow us to create these humans, there will be likely significant lag as a result of me streaming. So I apologize in advance for that, but I think it's worth it to show folks what is possible with this application. One other thing that I should mention is that because of the nature of the tool and the fact that so many people want to hop on it and use it, they are currently limiting sessions to 1 hour per session. So that means that at about the hours mark, we'll likely get kicked out of here. With that said, let's look through some of these humans. So Ada, Aoi, and a couple of others, Aoi, I'm definitely butchering that name, are some of the humans that we've met before, and there are also some others that we've not yet seen. So I'm going to quickly scroll through them just so you can get an idea of the base humans that are available. It's a lot of them. I believe there's 50. Taro is one that's been quite popular these days, as has been Yuri, since they've appeared in some of the promotional materials for MetaHuman Creator. And with that look through, I'll start to choose one. Now, when I first started playing with it for about 20-30 minutes, I envisioned that I'd be making a character that resembled me to some degree, so that's what I'm going to go for now as well. And excuse the sounds in the background if it's too loud. The siren that just walked by. Sirens don't walk. All right. I think I'll pick up where I left off with the tutorial. I'll choose them as the base character, and you'll immediately see that we get this prompt that says, this MetaHuman uses grooms currently in development, only displayed at LODs 0 and 1. Those are levels of detail. And if you're not familiar with MetaHuman or what this project is about, it's a project that aims to, or that accomplishes creating these extremely realistic humans for use in Unreal Engine. One of the cool features is that there are varying levels of detail to these humans, so they can better fit your application. So if you want to use it in a game or a film, some animation, but you're quite far, it doesn't make sense to have extremely high resolution graphics or extremely detailed graphics, because you won't see your character, and so they'll be lost and be computationally expensive. As a result, MetaHuman Creator aims to incorporate some of this new tech to make it simpler for people to create humans or metahumans at varying levels of detail. And so this grooming just lets us know that they're still working on Ator's hair here. I'm checking on this stream and it's a bit choppy. Again, that's because I'm streaming this experience, but when I was playing around with it earlier, it's not it wasn't that bad. In fact, it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't as bad as it is now on stream, but I will commit to making a quick walkthrough video of this maybe after this stream or with some of the footage from the stream in case it's unbearable to watch. So I do apologize for that, but I appreciate you joining. So here we see some of the different previews that are available within MetaHuman Creator. This one specific to this character where he's sort of moving his head about left and right and looking at camera. We can turn these off and go into blend mode, which is where the magic begins to happen. But I wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like. I want to try something quickly here before we go any further to see if I can make this experience any better. So I'll try display capture and we'll do screen. And you'll probably be seeing this screen, but that's what's intended. And hopefully this will be a little bit better. Let's see. Nope, unfortunately not. So let's just get rid of that and continue with our screen. Okay, so you see some of these dots that are hovering over Tor's face here. These are points in which we can drag, push, and pull to make this MetaHuman, this face and features the way that the shapes that we want, and to give this human the features that we want. To enable blend mode in viewport, drag 3 of the presets below. I see. So I'm using the wrong mode here. They're encouraging you to use some of these presets, and I'll show you why in a moment. So we'll just pick 3 at random. We'll take Bez here, and let's see, who else? Lexi. And Sky. And now we're effectively given blend shapes for this character to morph throughout. And if I drag the brow here, you'll notice that the brow begins to shapeshift essentially. If I grab the eyes become bigger or smaller. And something that is worth pointing out, which might be a bit difficult to see currently, but there is this circle around the this point which I'm dragging that allows me to move between different forms of this face, and these forms are all relative to the 3 people I've selected here to be essentially a circle of influence for the different facial features of this character that I'm building. Now I think with the current speed of this stream, or the way that it's sort of chugging away this browser-based application, I'll have some trouble showing the levels of detail, but I'd like to give that a go before we go further and return to 0 level of detail. I'll zoom in really close to the eye, since that's one of the most recognizable, if not the most recognizable, features of the human body, and give you an example of what it looks like to go from a very low level of detail, or a 0 level of detail, to about a 7. You may not be able to see this all too well on your screen, but the pores do stretch, and they get, oh, maybe I went about this the wrong way, actually. What a joke. That's great. So this is a very low level of detail, not the other way around. There you go. But that that's amazing. That gives you the idea. For some reason, when I was playing with this earlier, I may have had it set to auto LOD, which is, there we go. Yes, this is what I meant to showcase. So if we pull out, it's a much lower level of detail. As we start to push in, the detail increases, and this makes it so that it's you get an idea of what your character will look like if it's meant to be extremely low poly, like this level of detail 7, which just looks hilarious. Or this level of detail 0, which is an extremely detailed character. And the shaders and the fabric and the different clothes that these characters have are also really well made. But what else would you expect from this team? Alright, so we'll get to shaping this character. And again, I apologize if the stream quality isn't that great. I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've seen a picture of myself, and I don't tend to look in the mirror all that much, so I'm just going to wing it here. And try to do my best to emulate it. If at any point you wanted to, let's say, remove a person, a MetaHuman from this level of influence, then it will undo some of the progress that you've made. So keep that in mind when you're using it. Let's swap Lexi out for Tori and continue. And rather than spending the hour actually shaping myself up, I'll just toggle through some of these settings and make a whole new human just to keep it interesting and keep it going, because I'd also like to get to the point where you can work on the skin, eyes, teeth, and makeup, and trying to get my facial features on this character at the speed of my viewport at the moment might not be as exciting to watch. And maybe I should pick people actually that have very distinct features to give me something to play with, or incorporate some others in there. So let's draw from some of these faces. Pia. Great. And you really start to see the way that the face shifts. So now that we've got all these different faces to swap between, let's just make a character that has some of the different features from all these people we've selected. And if at any point you wanted to work on a character separate from that, you could go into Sculpt Mode and just sculpt your own features, so you don't have to pull from others. All these dots are parts that you could drag and move in order to start sculpting a character that looks the way that you want your MetaHuman to look. And what's cool about this is that you can then export it using Quixel Bridge right into your Unreal project, and it will come rigged and ready and set up with the varying levels of detail that we showed earlier. Just because it was really funny the first time around. Let's just go back to this version. Oh boy. That's great. Yeah, so we'll mess around a bit with these eyes, see what different familiar faces we can morph between. Pull up the nose a little bit. Maybe set the nostrils. Let's see. That's fine. Now one thing you'll notice is that you, as you're playing around with this tool, if you pick it up or download it or get access to it, is that you can't push the MetaHuman beyond what is human. So you can't make something like a monster or a creature because the settings just won't allow you to. They'll stop you before you get anywhere that looks a bit too unhuman or inhuman, and that's clearly deliberate given that the name of the tool is MetaHuman Creator. And I'm not going for anything specific here, just kind of tweaking around to see what sort of person we get. I love that they call this sculpt because it really does feel like you're just sculpting this person out of, well, in this case, these 6 different people, or 7 if you count them in. And it kind of reminds me a bit of the pen tool in Photoshop, in that it's such an intuitive way to move around and shape this face. Interesting. To bring out the cheekbones just a little bit. Not quite that much. Okay, I think that's enough fiddling with the face. Let's move on to something else. Let me just do a quick orbit to make sure that our human looks, well, human, and that nothing looks off or unreal. Get it? And I think that looks good. Alright, let's move on to the skin. This prompt looks a bit blotchy here. I'm not quite sure what this gray area is. Oh, I see. For some reason, the preview of my stream, it's pixelated, and so this whole section here at a low quality, or I imagine with poor connection, looks like a blotchy version of a palette. I'll be right back. And we're back. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's play around with this texture slider and see what changes. Okay, interesting. So now we're cycling through different textures on the skin. I think for this we might want to get a bit closer just to get a better view. And we can continue sculpting in this mode. Contrast here accentuates the texture. And roughness, let's see what roughness does. Well, it's hard to see because of the decreased resolution on the screen here, but I imagine that what roughness is doing is it's smoothing out the difference between the texture and the base of the skin. So we'll make him look aged some, maybe not as worried as that previous frame. Looks concerned. And the fact that, you know, you've got like floating point numbers here for the texture that you can select speaks to just a level of difference and variance that you can put into these humans. Well, I'll leave the freckles as they are. Accents, what sort of accents? I see. So you can accentuate different points of redness, saturation, lightness on different parts of the head. So the scalp, forehead, cheeks, under eye, lips. Let's see what happens if we saturate the lips a little bit. All right. Let's set it there. Let's look at the eyes for a moment. So you've got built-in presets that you can use. Looks like 12 of them. You can change the iris and the sclera as well. Oh, looks like you can also selectively change either the left eye or the right eye. Let's set the base color. I actually like this combination here, so we'll move on. Blend method, radial versus structural. Well, I'm not sure what that might mean, but if we zoom in, hopefully we can see. Oh, interesting. So radial seems to be, at least from what I can tell, following the iris here, or the pupil rather, along the iris, and structural seems to follow the striations within the iris. You can change the color balance as well between one color and the other, so make the eyes a bit browner than they are green. Let's switch it back to radial just because it, to my eye at the moment, it looks a bit more natural. You can change the iris size too. Let's see. Wow. So for that, we'd probably want to zoom out just a little bit. That's amazing. I think I like the saturation where it is, and you can even choose the, I'm just blanking on my terms right now, but the rings around the eye. I'm sure someone knows, and if you do, you'll drop it in the chat and make my day. So let's see, color balance, we probably want to set it back or push it forward a little bit. And let's go back to structural, because now it's starting to look, there we go. Look a bit much. Okay. And like I said, one of the cool things is you can continue tweaking as much as you like. So at this point, we could just realize, okay, maybe now that I have some idea of what I want this person or this MetaHuman to look like, I can just move that as you continue shaping things up. We'll move on to the sclera. I think that this is good if we were to play with this too much. We might start getting to that uncanny valley. I think the tint, oh, so they've locked the tint a bit, which is good. We can make it a bit yellower, I believe. And I just want to see what this rotation's all about. Oh, interesting. Vascularity, that's, yeah, the veins in the sclera, we won't touch those. And now we can get into the teeth. Ooh. Look at those chompers. Tooth length. Interesting. So tooth length affects not just tooth length, it seems, but just how much of the gums we see. Upper shift. Overbite versus underbite. Wow, that is an insane amount of detail. Variation? What's this? Whoa, dancing teeth. Okay. Well, no one's got perfect teeth. Perfect teeth anyway. Yeah, that is pretty freaky. Joey says in the chat, pretty freaky. Eckhart Troll on Twitch says, MetaHuman is so cool. It really is. Tooth spacing. Whoa. Worn down. Oh. Let's not. Narrowness. Wow. Receding gums. That is an immense amount of detail for the things that you can change. Wow. I'm impressed. I see, and if at any point you wanted to change those parameters directly without having to drag as I just did, you can click here and do that. Let's move on to makeup, see what kind of options they have. And I should remind you that this is the early access release for this, so it's not the finished product, and already it's really blowing me away. That's just an insane amount of detail that you can use and shape. I think I'll leave the makeup as is, only because I don't know, I want to get funkier than these. Maybe this will look cool. Color. Oh, I wish you could. Yeah, I wish you could separate the color from one and the other and do something a little more fun. But this looks very cool, and I'm sure if we up the sort of redness or pink-ish colors and tints in underneath the eye, that this would look even more convincing. Okay, but I think I'll remove the makeup if I can find a way to do it. I see, so maybe the previous value was here we go, we can undo. That's a great option to have there. Head. What kind of head do we want? Oh, I see, hair. We're in the hair section now. we just shaped the head. So now under the hair section, you have selections for the hair on the head. Clearly, that's where we're at now. I'm going to choose one at random, and it will be. This is not so random, but let's see what this one looks like. Whoa, the hair just moved. Cool. So our MetaHuman has a ponytail. What other options are available here? Short pulled back. This is looking great. And we are back. So where we last left off, we were giving our MetaHuman a haircut. We chose short pulled back. This looks all right. I wonder what other sort of adjustments we can make to the hair on the head. It doesn't look like many. This might just be some adjustments of the it seems like the back of the head. All my anatomy is leaving me today. Medium bob curly. Sounds like someone you would meet at a pub or something. Hey, what's your name? I'm medium bob curly. Okay, I like these hairstyles. Let's maybe return our character here to their initial hairstyle. And if you all have any questions, comments, suggestions for the face or for our MetaHuman, feel free to throw them in the chat. I think I like this clean cut look. I'll stick with it, and we'll move on to the eyebrows. This one's going to be fun. I have very bushy eyebrows, so when I make my character or my MetaHuman, I will take full advantage of the eyebrow options that we have here. It's slowing down for me a little bit just now. One other aspect of this to take into consideration is because it's a cloud-based tool, as I mentioned earlier. If you're just joining us now, unruly, that defines my eyebrows. If you're just joining us now, this is MetaHuman Creator. We're creating a MetaHuman here. This is the early access version of this software, of this browser-based software, and so one of the considerations they had in mind while making this was to start rolling it out slowly as they think about scalability and the different features that they can make available to people online. I'm sure if I were running this as an application on my computer, it wouldn't be so sluggish as it's being now. But even then, it's still looking pretty great. I think we'll keep the eyebrows with eyelashes with a long, slight curl. I have long, slightly curled eyelashes too. And I know I said I wouldn't make this character after me, but I'm running the show here. It's really interesting the way that our facial hair shapes our face, if you have facial hair. Even the lack of facial hair can shape a face. Just for fun, let's try this long, messy beard before we throw it back to stubble. Wow, that is long and messy. He kind of looks like Jack Dorsey a couple of years ago. Can give him a mustache. Let's do a long, scraggly one. Yeah, that suits him. And you can change the color and the roughness of the mustache and the hair in general, but I will leave these as they are because I think they look good, and I don't want to tweak it to fall out too much from what's normal. Okay, and now we're getting to the body type specifically. We can have an average body type that oscillates between, I imagine this would be some form of fit, and perhaps these not so fit options. It's got wider hips here, it seems. And tall as well. I think this looks realistic to me. And now we get into the clothing step. So we can throw a button-down shirt on our friend here. Set the primary color to something like, oh yeah. Perfect. And the secondary color, let's shift it to, I believe this might be the color of either the buttons or the details on the shirt. Let's zoom in and find out. So the threading on the shirt, and maybe we'll make that white just to complement the sort of salmon color that we've got going on. At least to my poorly resed viewport right now, this looks to be salmon. Might be something completely different though, depending on where you're watching. Jeans, slim jeans and cargo pants. Let's just throw some jeans on it. And you can change the colors too of these, the primary and secondary colors. I'll leave those as they are. We'll move on to the shoes. I think this is a good pair. I can't seem to zoom out more than that, so we'll just keep it here. And I like to keep this sort of light, playful color variation going. I think this might be a bit too close to yellow for what I'm going for here. Looks good to me. Now what do? Now we can preview our character. And hit play on the preview, and we can't really see them. If we go to body type, I think we'll zoom out just a little bit. That's wild. And so in just under an hour, we've created this incredibly realistic, unique character. And we can export them from here into Unreal through Quixel Bridge, animate them using motion capture from a motion capture suit or an iPad or an RGB camera. And we've got ourselves this rigged, very realistic looking character that, if you remember and you were watching at the beginning, can also look just like this at a very low level of detail. So we can go from extremely low poly to pore stretching with just a few clicks. And that was a short walkthrough of the actual character creation step here within MetaHuman. You can continue to move some face shapes if you use the move tool, which we didn't cover, but it's effectively sculpt but more limited. And there we have our MetaHuman. So I'll record a version of this that isn't being streamed and crushing the quality of this recording, and make that available so you can check it out and see in a higher level of detail how exciting it is to be able to create these MetaHumans. I haven't really talked about what's exciting about it for me yet, because I've been busy toying around with the different sculpting features, but I think that this will have a huge impact on different industries, hospitality, gaming, just to name two of the big ones. And we've already seen some very engaging and very interesting use cases of this. There are some people on the Microsoft team that have taken MetaHuman and used them through HoloLens to display essentially a MetaHuman, and you could imagine someone creating a guided augmented reality tour of a space like a museum or a house, and using a MetaHuman, which could be more engaging than talking to a non-human character for some people. Also, in terms of identity, people will now have characters that can look a lot like them or very different from them, and use those to represent themselves online, in games and the like, thanks to not only MetaHuman as a tool for people to create realistic looking humans and use them within Unreal Engine projects, but also for other companies, groups, organizations that work on creating humans digitally, for use in games or as avatars. So it's a really exciting moment. This is a very robust tool, and it's wild that it's browser based. In some ways it's a shame, because I think that that's partly why this streaming situation is kind of dampening the quality of the stream and of the capture, but it's very impressive. It's very intuitive, and it just works. So if you have an opportunity to check it out, I definitely recommend that you do. I know that they're currently Unreal and Epic Games still have the early access registrations open, and so if this is something that you're interested in checking out, either for fun or to actually create a MetaHuman to use in a project, I very strongly recommend it. And if you were to close the browser here or go back to My Humans, your human would get saved. Please name your MetaHuman. Let's adjust the name if we can. It's lagging quite a bit here for me, but this is looking good. And if we turn on these settings here, it lets us know frames received. Yep. Frame rate 39. I wish I had turned this on a bit earlier, but this gives you an idea of how poorly it seems to be running with me streaming. The intent for this is not for you to stream the creation of this, so I don't think that this is too much of an issue. I imagine that when I was using this earlier, it was likely the frame rate was just had to be a lot higher than this. It certainly was. 39 is not too bad though, if you work as slowly as we did. And that was our MetaHuman. Thanks so much for joining or for checking this out. My name is Arturo. I will do these streams semi-randomly whenever new MetaHuman creator updates come out. I also stream a series called B3D and Chill, where I hang out with some friends on stream and work out some Blender problems. Currently I'm working on modeling a drive-through. It began as me modeling a speaker box from that drive-through that I happened to walk by, and then I ended up kind of pushing the envelope a bit of my own project and making it a drive-through, and so far it's going well. I'm using LiDAR scans for some of it and some simple box modeling techniques. So if you'd like to check the previous ones out and be up to date, I definitely recommend that you do that. And if you want to join me on the next one, which will be tomorrow, then you can do that by subscribing. So consider subscribing if you want to be up to date on the latest projects that I'm working on, and hitting the notification bell so that you don't miss a single thing. I'm going to close the stream off now, but I appreciate you joining if you did, and I appreciate you watching this back if you are. And if you never see this, I still appreciate you, and I'm sure Ettore here appreciates you as well.